Aloha. In Hawaii, people say how's it sometimes instead of hi. That basically means what's up. So how's it? So this is Talking with a Good Man. I'm Jay Goodman. This is the Screwtape Letters Lenten series, and we're about to start letter 11. I can't believe it. We're already on letter 11. It's amazing. Praise God. So Talking with a Good Man is a show aimed at calling all men to be a good man. Being a good man is very difficult. Believe me, it's hard for me. It really is. Daily, I work, sometimes fail, or sometimes more often than not, probably, to keep pride out of my life. We have to remember, though, we are amazing. God made us for greatness amidst our failures, like true magnanimity, being great and being in between pride and humility, but knowing you were made for greatness. And hey, I'm good at ABC. I'm going to jump in the game and do this. But when we mess up, when we have those lows in our undulations in life, like I've said many times, as C.S. Lewis mentions in his letters, we must remember to not allow that shame in and to continue living in the life and living a repentant life. Lent is not supposed to be easy and fun. It's supposed to be a spiritual cleanse over 40 days, and that involves pain and suffering, and to offer that up for the good of something else, almsgiving. Sometimes it's going to hurt. But as I always tell my kids, Goodmans do hard things. In our case, a good man does hard things. Join me in working hard to be a good man for your family, your church, yourself, and God. So today's theme is a tough one for many men out there. It's a tough subject. Virtue versus vice. There are two theme verses too. The first one is from Philippians 4:8, which says, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. It seems at first glance that anything other than these things would be a potential vice. So let's list this again so you can really focus on the main words. True, honorable, just, pure, lovely, gracious, excellence, and worthy of praise. What a beautiful list to live by, right? Do we always? Absolutely not. I know I don't. Is it the standard in the Christian life? Absolutely it is. So the second theme verse is from Wisdom, the book of Wisdom 8:7. And it says, if anyone loves righteousness, her labors are virtues, for she teaches self-control and prudence, justice and courage. Nothing in life is more profitable for men than these. So prudence is the foundation for good works in our lives, and virtue is the springboard to do those good acts or those works. But virtue takes work. It doesn't come naturally. And the last bit, how awesome is that? Nothing is more profitable than those things. So with that, let's read the Screwtape Letters. Letter 11. All right, we are in Honoma Bay, Hawaii. It's beautiful out here. Today I'm reading letter 11 from the Screwtape Letters. My dear Wormwood, everything is clearly going very well. I am especially glad to hear that the two new friends have now made him acquainted with their whole set. All these, as I find from the record office, are thoroughly reliable people, steady, consistent scoffers and worldlings, who without any spectacular crimes are progressing quietly and comfortably towards our Father's house. You speak of their being great laughers. I trust this does not mean that you are under the impression that laughter as such is always in our favor. The point is worth some attention. I divide the causes of human laughter into joy, fun, the joke proper, and flippancy. You will see the first among friends and lovers reunited on the eve of a holiday. Among adults, some pretext in the way of jokes is usually provided, but the facility with which the smallest witticisms produce laughter at such a time shows that they are not the real cause. What that real cause is, we do not know. Something like it is expressed in much of that detestable art which the humans call music, and something like it occurs in heaven, a meaningless acceleration in the rhythm of celestial experience, quite opaque to us. Laughter of this kind does us no good and should always be discouraged. Besides, the phenomenon is of itself disgusting and a direct insult to the realism, dignity, and austerity of hell. Fun is closely related to joy, a sort of emotional froth arising from the play instinct. It is very little use to us. It can sometimes be used, of course, to divert humans from something else which the enemy would like them to be feeling or doing, but in itself it has wholly undesirable tendencies. It promotes charity, courage, contentment, and many other evils. The joke proper, which turns on sudden perception of incongruity, is a much more promising field. I am not thinking primarily of indecent or bawdy humor, which, though much relied upon by second-rate tempters, is often disappointing in its results.
The truth is that humans are pretty clearly divided on this matter into two classes. There are some to whom no passion is as serious as lust, and for whom an indecent story ceases to produce lasciviousness precisely in so far as it becomes funny. There are others in whom laughter and lust are excited at the same moment and by the same things. The first sort joke about sex because it gives rise to many incongruities. The second cultivate incongruities because they afford a pretext for talking about sex. If your man is of the first type, body humor will not help you. I shall never forget the hours which I wasted, hours to me of unbearable tedium, with one of my early patients in bars and smoking rooms before I learned this rule. Find out which group the patient belongs to and see that he does not find out. The real use of jokes or humor is in quite a different direction, and it is specially promising among the English who take their sense of humor so seriously that a deficiency in this sense is almost the only deficiency of which they feel shame. Humor is for them the all-consoling, and mark this, the all-excusing grace of life. Hence it is invaluable as a means of destroying shame. If a man simply lets others pay for him, he is mean. If he boasts of it in a jocular manner and twits his fellows with having been scored off, he is no longer mean, but a comical fellow. Mere cowardice is shameful. Cowardice boasted of with humorous exaggerations and grotesque gestures can be passed off as funny. Cruelty is shameful, unless the cruel man can represent it as a practical joke. 1,000 bawdy or even blasphemous jokes do not help towards a man's damnation so much as his discovery that almost anything he wants to do can be done, not only without the disapproval, but with the admiration of his fellows, if only it can get itself treated as a joke. And this temptation can be almost entirely hidden from your patient by that English seriousness about humor. Any suggestion that there might be too much of it can be represented to him as puritanical or as betraying a lack of humor. But flippancy is the best of all. In the first place, it is very economical. Only a clever human can make a real joke about virtue, or indeed about anything else. Any of them can be trained to talk as if virtue were funny. Among flippant people, the joke is always assumed to have been made. No one actually makes it, but every serious subject is discussed in a manner which implies that they have already found a ridiculous side to it. If prolonged, the habit of flippancy builds up around a man the finest armor plating against the enemy that I know, and it is quite free from the dangers inherent in the other sources of laughter. It is 1,000 miles away from joy. It deadens, instead of sharpening, the intellect, and it excites no affection between those who practice it. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. And that is Screwtape letter 11.
So now to jump into this, Screwtape explains to Wormwood that there are 4 different kinds of laughter: joy, fun, joke proper, and flippancy, with laughter and joy to God being the worst kind, as Marlon points out. And Screwtape wants Wormwood to distort these so as to cause the patient to, as Marlon puts it, act in ways contrary to virtuous behavior, whether it be lustfully, sarcastically, etc. The desire is for direct, indecent behavior. So the entire point of the mission here from Screwtape to Wormwood is knowing that being cruel to someone is just shameful, but if it comes across as a practical joke, then the mission has been won. So going back for a moment, you see the letter starts out with a bit of success from the demons because they got the patient in with the friends spoken of in the last letter. You know, we as Christians would know them as bad friends with bad inclinations. The demons would see them as the right friends, the correct friends for them, you know. They just want to use the friends to bring the patient down. They're described as consistent scoffers and worldlings who, without any spectacular crimes, are progressing quietly and comfortably towards our Father's house, which would be Satan's house. He says, you speak of them being great laughers, but they mean the kind of laughing that is meant to tear others down. Did you catch the 2 words Screwtape uses in regards to the scoffers and worldlings going to hell when I read the letter? They use the words quietly and comfortably. Isn't that interesting strategic words? Remember back when Screwtape said they work not to allow knowledge in, but to keep knowledge out of a man? I think it was Screwtape letter 4. It's subtle, though. If they laid it on thick, it would be too obvious and they'd be found out. If they do it quietly while providing all comforts possible to the person or the patient or any of us, they will not turn towards God. I mean, if the demons took the most hardened, evil person in the world and, dangled them over the fires of hell, they would scream, no, thank you, or whatever they say, and they would want God. But if you do it slowly or over a lifetime, providing numbness, I guess, providing as many comforts as possible and be quiet about it, well, that's a different story altogether. They won't just stop seeking or never start seeking God, but they'll slowly forget that that's an option until it's too late and they're in hell. So anyway, what is the crux here in all of this? Screwtape and Wormwood's desire is to have the patient act in ways contrary to virtuous behavior, whether it be like lustfully or sarcastically, etc. The desire is for direct, indecent behavior from distorting the four kinds of laughter. As Marlon points out, actions or words do not need a negative foundation to foster joy. This is a misrepresentation of what true joy is. The virtue of joy resonates with the love of Christ at its center. Perception is merely perception until you find the truth of the matter. Genuine truth reveals what is real, like, good acts versus bad ones. So to close up here, how do we apply this to our lives? Marlon points out that the cardinal virtues, in particular prudence, provide a gauge to determine virtue from vice. Prudence provides practical reason. In other words, it leads us to choose the good that will lead to further grace. In essence, the practice of prudence reveals how good acts result in good outcomes and bad acts into bad outcomes. So our focus today, like I mentioned in the beginning, is the two verses I mentioned, Philippians 4:8 and Wisdom 8:7, and also Catechism 1806. That's really the Catechism part to follow and to really focus and meditate on. So thank you for tuning in today again. We are moving right along. As always, if you want to get a hold of me, my email is jgoodman.deepadventure@gmail.com. It's jaygoodman.deepadventure@gmail. And if you want to donate to my cause, this show and my future shows, my Venmo is at jaygoodman75, at jgoodman75. Check out bearschoolofmanliness.com too. There's so much amazing content on there. It's designed to help us grow closer to God and be a strong man. There's also a section for all the strong mama bears out there, because you guys do so much for us husbands and your children. The moms out there need support and strength too, and to encourage each other. So I'd like to reveal something kind of special. I'm going to have a drawing. On April 14th, the day before the last letter, letter 31, so this will be letter 30, that day, if there are more than 100 comments on all my videos, I'm going to count them. If there's more than 100 comments, I'm going to go through all of them and pull all the names, and I'm literally going to put them all into that long ride home hat you've seen me wear sometimes, and I'm going to draw a name. And the winner is going to receive a long ride home hat. They're going to receive the complete C.S. Lewis study guide that I'm using. And they're going to receive a copy of Marlon De La Torre study guide. So I'll see you tomorrow. Keep strong. Allow God to continually push us through this Lenten cleanse that we're on. And pray for me. I'll pray for you. And I look forward to tomorrow. I'm out of here.